Blood a go run! Blood a go run! Blood a go run!
After the racist murder by fire of 13 young black people in January 1981, there could be no going back for the black communities. The chants, the rage of this march, 2 months later, were to be a final warning. For a near bankrupt capitalist Britain, 1981 was to be a year of blood and burning. We have been forced to fight back as the British state machinery gave full support to its police to attack black people. The African youth, who continued to endure the brunt of racist police, came to the forefront of militant resistance. This resistance over the years moved from the individual and small-scale confrontations to major pitched battles involving hundreds and even thousands of youths, as seen here in the 1976 Notting Hill Carnival. The state had set out to destroy this large public expression of Caribbean culture. Thousands of police from the metropolitan and surrounding area descended on the carnival, but their intimidation tactics backfired as black youths fought the agents of the state. Similar battles continued in future carnivals and other parts of Britain, in particular St. Paul's, Bristol, 1980, where in addition to the police, major symbols of capitalism such as banks were attacked, and it was the police who had to flee from the battle. Meanwhile, racist groups like the National Front and British Movement are given protection by the state, who refuse to outlaw them, thus legitimizing racist ideas and attacks on black people. Between 1976 and 1978, 22 racist murders were recorded, including Michael Ferreira, a youth of 19, who whilst walking home with friends in Hackney, London, was knifed to death by racists. Few of these murderers and attackers were ever caught by the police, who refused to see the vicious attacks on black people as being racial. Here in what was once the home of a black family, racists were responsible for a fire which engulfed this house during a birthday party on January the 18th in New Cross, London, an area that has a history of attacks on premises occupied by black people. This time, 13 young black people lost their lives and 26 more physically and mentally maimed. The 13 dead, whose names we shall never forget, are Humphrey Brown, aged 13, Patricia Johnson, aged 15, Lloyd Hall, aged 21, Andrew Gooding, aged 14, Yvonne Ruddock, aged 16, whose birthday party it was, Patrick Cummings, 15, Lillian Henry, 16, Peter Campbell, 18, Owen Thompson, 16, Glenn Powell, 16, Steve Collins, 17, Jerry Francis, also 17, and the second Ruddock to die on that night, Paul, aged 22, brother of Yvonne Ruddock. The police theories about the fire have been unconvincing and, as usual, were backed up by the British media. They treated the massacre as a minor fire incident, supporting the police story that there is no racist connection. No one has been arrested for this crime. But for the families who have lost their sons and daughters, and those whose children are still suffering, it's a personal tragedy. One of them, who lost her home, a daughter and a son, is Mrs. Amza Ruddock.
My concern over the children who lost their lives, it was unnecessary. Every time I close my eyes, I can only see the fire. It was terrible. The fire was really terrible. And the children were screaming, and they stopped screaming. And when they stopped screaming, I said, oh God, they're dead, they're dead. It was so peaceful, really peaceful, and it was extremely happy. I've never seen Yvonne so happy in my life at her birthday party. She was extremely happy.
dying cry this morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise. I'm just going to read a short passage of scripture to you, taken from the book of Genesis.
Lord, it can't be destiny.
The black community reacted instantly to the massacre of the youth. Public meetings were organized, out of which the New Cross Massacre Action Committee was formed. A fact-finding committee was also set up, as well as a fund for the families of the 13 dead. Out of these meetings, a National Black People's Day of Action was called and organized for Monday, March 2nd. Despite pouring rain, thousands of black people turned up from all parts of Britain for the start of this protest and solidarity march. The march had been planned and organized on a nationwide basis under the leadership of black political organizations who had come together under the banner of the New Cross Massacre Action Committee. During the period leading up to the march, black people of all ages raised over £19,000 for the families of the 13 dead. The money collected included over £50 donated by black prisoners in Wormwood Scrubs. The march itself took place on a working day, when black workers, students, and school children would come out and join other black people for this National Day of Action, marching over 8 hours from New Cross through to the centre of London, bringing the city to a standstill. The effect of this march forced the political head of state, Margaret Thatcher, to blunder into sending a letter of condolence to the parents of the dead. It was not addressed to the parents, but to a local community worker with an MBE. And to add insult to injury, it was 2 months late. The march demonstrated the unity that can exist amongst black people.
It only goes to show that if we put ourselves together, we could do something. And in spite of all the rain and everything, it's great. For the black people to know, right? To know that, right? Some, I know a white man who did do it. I'm here, right? For the white people, the black people. I'm here for. That's not here for, guys. Freedom! What do we got? Oppression!
I think it's terrible all around, you know. I mean, we are the police have handled it. You know, and the situation nobody official for their self-defense. The government will refuse to work out. I think it's good time for black to unite. And I hope that there'll be
Organizers of the march and the police had agreed to the route of the march. The march passed through vast areas of South London peacefully until it was attacked by truncheon-wielding thugs of the Metropolitan Police. Still today, no explanation has been given by them as to why they attempted to do so. It can only be guessed that their intention was to intimidate, spread panic, and drive the march off the streets. black people stood their ground and fought back. Some of those captured were rescued from the grips of the brutes in blue. At the same time, others in the front line gave leadership and rallied the people together.
Regroup! Right there, so regroup!
Such a determined march could not be stopped, and it continued along its route, gathering in greater force and numbers. Away from the march, a delegation of parents of the 13 dead, with representatives of the New Cross Massacre Action Committee, handed in a statement of protest to the House of Commons. But from this, nothing came. Parliament was at one with the police, the press, and the racist murderers. In Fleet Street, where a silent and sometimes spoken alliance exists between the press and those carrying out physical attacks on black people, the silence of the press over the massacre was disrupted by thousands of black people chanting them down. The police, with their duty to protect property, brought out their mounted patrol and further reinforcements. But the people continued to their destination, Hyde Park, their spirits high, a truly historic day of action. Before the dust of the march had settled, the Metropolitan Police launched a major stop-and-search operation in and around Brixton, the very heart of the black community. In 5 days, over 2,000 mainly black youths were stop and searched in this unprecedented invasion, in an area where even the local council had just published a report highlighting police terror against black people. A small incident with the police triggered the black youths to fight back, and as the fighting spread, white youths also joined in the battle against this open intimidation and illegal occupation of their community. For over 5 days, resistance continued, and the youths directed their anger not only against the police, but also against racist and capitalist property. The British state response was clear. The Prime Minister called the uprising criminal and not caused by the intimidation, the unemployment, or any of the social evils produced by a crumbling system. The Home Secretary, William Whitelaw, set up a one-man inquiry by Judge Scarman to close our eyes to the real problems of racism and inequality. Whitelaw, under heavy guard, visited Brixton with London Police Chief McNee. There, he congratulated the police for their bravery.
I would like to express on behalf of the whole nation my thanks to them for what they did on that occasion.
3 months later, Liverpool also began to burn, but not before Southall, a largely Asian community was invaded by white racists. Militant Asian youths surprised both them and their police protectors and drove them out. Liverpool 8 burnt fiercer. Officially known as Toxteth, it was a powder keg primed not just by a decade, but centuries of racist neglect and downpression. Like Brixton, a small incident with the police ignited the fiercest street battles since the war. Liverpool, once rich from the sweat and blood of African slaves on Caribbean plantations, was now set on fire by young people, many with African blood flowing through their veins. The British state blamed working-class parents and those it had thrown on the scrap heap of its system. Here is the racist police chief of Liverpool, Kenneth Oxford.
I blame a small group of criminal hooligans who were hell-bent to provoke the police into a situation that would give them an opportunity to attack what is visibly a symbol of authority.
He ordered new murderously tough tactics, including the use of armored vehicles to charge into groups of people. And for the first time in England, CS gas was used on the civilian population. Margaret Thatcher echoed the use of force.
We're very concerned at the things the police are having to go through. They must go in to protect all the law-abiding citizens in the area. In our country, we believe in tolerance, equal treatment for everyone before the law, equal rights, equal responsibilities. Those things should be part of our way of life. We thought these things had stopped when there were quite severe sentences on the Notting Hill riots years ago.
But the flames of resistance continued in Manchester, again in Brixton, Leicester, Nottingham, and over 30 other towns and cities. Black youths were joined by white youths in working-class solidarity, not only in fighting police downpression, but against the unequal distribution of wealth at capitalism itself. In response, the British state has redoubled its attacks since the uprisings. Those arrested have been the impetus for the mobilization of families and community support, seen in the many campaign organizations throughout the country. The warning, "Blood a go run," issued in the clearest terms by thousands of black people on March 2nd, went unheeded. The fire of black resistance will not be put out. Capitalist oppression must end. The black community will continue with the spirit of March 2nd, 1981.
I think it's very successful. We're together. Important, more than important, brother. This is the beginning, not the end.